2, 1.
Perfect.
All right.
Okay, welcome everybody. I'm Celeste Feeler. I'm from the parent union. Unfortunately, Cecilia couldn't be with us tonight. But we do have a few special guests. We have Jackson Reese, who is director of the Janus project from California California Policy Center, and he's going to be discussing how to opt out of the union and what the Janus project is about. Jackson, if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself. And
Yeah, absolutely. So my name's Jackson. I'm a little bit more of a political guy who kind of specializes in digital outreach, but I've been working for California Policy Center ever since I interned with them about 4 or 5 years ago, and have slowly gained a little bit more and more momentum behind them. A few years ago when the Janus decision passed, we decided to start reaching out to teachers as well as other public employees and bring them into the fold and begin to discuss with them how the Janus decision affects them. Explaining to them that there's a lot of money on the table that can be yours, and that also is going to causes that you might not fully agree with. So we have a lot of teachers and a lot of other public employees that come from different sides of the aisle, and for many different reasons decide that it's in their best interest to opt out of their union, and we want to be there to help and educate them in any way possible. So we're open to hearing from anybody involved in public sector about the unions. I want to introduce really quickly to Brandon, if you'll just wave for a second. He's going to be taking over the brunt of this project too, as I'm going to transition to a different role with it, but I'll still be around. My email, if you guys want to reach out, is jackson@calpolicycenter.org. I'll send a follow-up email to all you guys so that you have it with any additional questions. But we've tried to make the opt-out process as easy as possible for anybody that wants to work with us on it and wants to actually exercise their rights under Janus. Thank you so much, Athena. The opt-out process can be found on a few different websites. We have a few that we run. One of them that will work for you and a lot of your friends even outside the education community is mypaymysay.org. And that one will work across all states. It's actually a federal campaign that we are involved in, that we're working in. And so you're going to click your state, fill out the little form, and it will give you a form that automatically will help you opt out. So you will just print that form, send it into your union, and we'll have people that will follow up with you over email, over the phone, make sure that you're being walked through the process by somebody who can help you every step of the way. And if you're having trouble, you guys can reach out and we will provide you with pro bono legal services or anything you might need along the way to actually help you reach that end goal of being free from paying into your union. So that's the 1,000-foot view, but I'm happy to answer specific questions if they come up.
does anyone have any questions for Jackson? I have, it says, I asked to opt out a year ago, but the president would not send me my paperwork or tell me how.
Perfect. So that's from Lynn, right?
Yes.
Lynn, if you want to just send me a quick email with the specifics of your situation, as well as which union you are buying into or being forced to pay into right now, we can get you connected with an attorney who will start the process by just sending a letter, pretty much demanding that they opt you out. We rarely have unions that push us past that point, and we haven't lost cases if they have pushed us into the lawsuit territory. So it's absolutely within your rights under Janus to opt out at any point, whether or not they're using they have a few strategies that they try to use to keep you in, but just continue to push, and we have your back if you need it. So use the email that we put in the chat, and we'll have an attorney send a letter to your union specifically so that they can receive something with a little bit more brunt, and hopefully that will be enough to let them opt out. And if not, we'll continue pursuing a path to get you out of there.
Let me add on to that. I have my union president was great. I told her personally I wanted to opt out. She told me all the steps. She told me exactly what I needed to do. And she was very helpful. She also explained to me that if I had signed a commitment card, that I would have a small window each year from which to opt out of. And they had all the teachers about 3 years ago sign something that went around in the staff meeting committing to staying within the union after Janus passed. They didn't tell anyone that you're committing to life to the union or that they'd use it to make your opt-out window shorter. But I actually have a human being as a union president who just was very nice and worked with me. I know your president, Trina, and what she's like, and she will do everything in her power, but that's why you have the Cal Policy Center now. They'll just send her a letter. She has to let you opt out. That's like completely your right. And it's just sad that she's going to make it hard on teachers. So, yeah.
Yeah, right now we have cases that are working through the circuit courts to try to get rid of any sort of dues windows, and not even get rid of because they're technically illegal for these unions to try to use. The Janus decision does not make it specific how you get to exercise a constitutional right, because it's a constitutional right. It's given to you broadly to be used at any point. Your freedom of speech doesn't stop and end at certain points, and neither does your right to associate yourself with a union, especially financially, and especially when that union is engaged in political activities. So yeah, please reach out to us, Lynn, and we will make sure that we're taking steps to ensure that your union hears that from an attorney, and specifically from an attorney who's been winning a lot of these cases. Are there any other questions I can field, or maybe if there's not, we can give Nolani some time to speak on AAE for sure, because I know they do some really cool stuff over there.
I was just going to say, oh, sorry.
I also want to hear from Michael too about what his story is.
I was just going to ask you guys, I'm from Arkansas, and we're a right to work state, and every one of the dropout windows changes with every district. So they let the district person who's the union representative of that district decide when your opt-out window is. So we've had so many teachers try to get out and then just get livid mad because they would say it's June 1st to June 30th. No, wait, no, it's July. No, and they would change it every time. So and that's a right to work state. So I was just wondering if you've experienced some of that where they try to change the drop window.
Yeah, so we don't see a lot of them trying to change the window. At least I haven't been presented with that. We do see a lot of really sketchy and just weird ways that they phrased how the window opens and closes. So my favorite one is no later than 30 days and no sooner than. It's just this weird convoluted like essay to try to. It feels like an LSAT question. Like you should get a doctorate in law, Juris Doctorate, if you actually figure out when your window is. But essentially it's saying that between 60 days before your annual the annual day that you became a teacher to 30 days before the annual day you became a teacher. So just the weirdest, most convoluted, nothing to do with any rational person's like, okay, this is when I'd opt out, like on the annual date, maybe like a month after that it would make sense. But it's a total mess. And they try to make it as confusing as possible so that they can continue coming back and saying, we said that this is the time that you can exercise your rights and you just didn't. So that's on you. And so we're not going to exercise, our right to let you go. But at the end of the day, that's not the question that Janus poses. And you have a right to exercise your freedom of association whenever, at any point. And so unfortunately, unions that are in California, especially those that are emboldened, are the ones that are going to push hard against this. But we've won cases against UTLA and which is one of the biggest, kind of baddest teachers unions in the state. But we really have been going hard to try to make sure that any teacher that's trying to opt out that gets hit by a dues window can very quickly actually get out of that being any sort of hold on their union membership. So we've been pretty successful at doing it, and we're going to continue pounding the pavement until we get everybody out that wants to be out. Michael, do you want to take it from here, and you can talk about how you got into this and what you're doing?
Yeah, you bet. Happy to jump in. Nice to meet you all remotely, wherever you may be. So my story, just briefly, is that I became a teacher after a previous career in business development and doing some other things, and had a passion to work with young people, in particular high school students. And when I was signing my paperwork for my current job, just due to some of my own background, as I'm going through the large stack of papers I'm signing my life away with, I came to the union documents, and there's a person there, and I knew kind of that I needed to ask some questions, but it really wasn't extremely clear. But I went ahead and asked, hey, this looks like I have an option here, whether or not I need to ask some more questions or sign in to the union. I need to have some more discussion here and learn a little bit more. So first of all, that was just an interesting way that the union opt-in, so to speak, was woven into this giant stack of papers that I signed when I became a teacher. Thankfully, I was able to kind of read between the lines and realize that I did not want to sign that paperwork at that time. And that really sent me down a path personally of educating myself into what's gone into the Janus project and the Supreme Court case, and what's led us really here to this point today. And it's become, for me, one of the more fulfilling parts of my job, actually, in learning how to communicate with my colleagues, most of whom have no idea. A lot of them know they can opt out, but they don't know about alternative liability. They've been misinformed about what's going to happen if and when they do opt out. And a lot of them just have never maybe talked to, at least in California, never talked to another teacher that's done it and has like lived to tell the story, so to speak. And I did it as an untenured teacher. And I won't say that it's perfect, but it wasn't like I had, obviously I still have my job today. I still have some good colleague relationships. I'm sure there's some people that maybe talk behind my back or something like that. But I'm become really, really passionate about helping other teachers know you have a choice. And my vision and passion is to just educate other teachers. What they do with the facts and information, that's ultimately their decision. And that's going to be their choice. My desire is just to make sure they're educated. If they choose to stay in the CTA, well, that's their decision. But I find that many of them, when they are fully educated with the full slate of information that's out there, are glad to put another $1,000 in their pocket. And if they're a young teacher, probably $100,000 if they take the difference of what they're going to save and they put it in a savings account over the course of their career and let it grow over time. So for me, it's been a joy and more than worth any of the Zoom calls late at night or conversations outside of teaching hours with my colleagues. It's been more than worth it to help other teachers be educated and save them some money, give them some freedom and newfound purpose, like Athena was talking about earlier. It's been so worth it, and I wouldn't trade it for anything. So I'm happy to be a resource or just a reference point for anybody here, or any of your colleagues, anything I can do.
And I know we weren't recording this earlier, but I definitely want this to be in the recording. I contributed $24,000, okay, in my first part of my career to CTA. That's a lot of money. And if I'm going to stay in another 20 years, that'd be another $24,000, or I mean, just a ton of money. So now I'm with AAE. I'm spending $200 a year, and I have guaranteed legal representation. When I had the union, they could decide if they wanted to help me with this or that. They weren't legally obligated to help me when I needed help. And now I'm actually paying for a service I know I'm going to get at $200. I go bargain shopping all the time. So why am I going to spend $1,200 a month when I can get a better deal for $200? So segue to AAE.
Yeah, I can start off. My name is Noelani Kahapea. I'm the Director of Strategic Partnerships with the Association of American Educators. We're the largest national non-union professional educators organization. And because this was touched on a little bit beforehand, I want to go over some of the common misconceptions we hear about opting out of the teachers union. One of the ones that have been that has been mentioned already is that the union is the only entity from which you can get liability insurance, which is not true. AAE, for example, provides $2 million worth of liability insurance, which is double what many other professional organizations offer. Only the union protects your job as a teacher is another one that we hear often. But again, your rights are protected by contract and law, not from the union. And we can help to protect you and your job if you ever get into a situation where you need that protection. If you leave the union, you won't lose your health insurance, your seniority, your tenure, or the contract. Again, your union membership has no impact on that. That is set by the contract, not by the union. And if you decide that you would like to leave the union and join another professional organization, you will still have those things. And then another thing that we hear very often is that their colleagues are going to disagree with their choice, but we did a survey and we found that 90% of teachers respect the rights of their colleagues to join the association of their choice. And so we definitely want to be here for you. I'm going to I can go over a few of the benefits generally, and then I'm going to let Shanna go into more detail. She's our membership team director, and so she can go a little bit more detail about the benefits. But again, we have the $2 million worth of liability insurance, legal protection, employment rights coverage. We do scholarships and classroom grants for teachers. We send out a newsletter, and we have tons of professional resources for you. During COVID, we sent out a lot of resources to help teachers transition over to distance learning. And we also have a member discount program. But Shanna, can you go over a little bit more detail of some of the things we offer at AAE?
Sure, I'd be glad to. So when we talk about who we are, if we want to just sum it up, I'm going to give you guys the 5 Ps, and that will just kind of get into your mind, something you can share with others. The first one is that we pride ourselves in just professionalism, that we feel like all of our members know that they are professionals. And so as an association, we are an association of professional educators. And our members know that. Number 2, protection. So just like she was saying, we provide you legal liability insurance. And not only that, just like Athena was saying, it's a personal policy, so it's written in your name. So honestly, we have no choice but to help you out. Whereas if you list with the union, you're on basically just a list serve. And if they decide that your issue, it's not going to really make them any money, or they're not going to have a good shot, they're going to just kind of leave you out on an island. So it's very important that you have that. And then peace of mind when you're walking into the classroom is huge. And we're $16.50 a month. So for 2 Starbucks, you can't beat going into a classroom and just knowing that, hey, I'm good. I'm going to get through this. I'm going to get through COVID. I'm going to get through everything that's been thrown at me this year because I have peace of mind that I'm covered. The number 4 is politics. So this is a very interesting one for me because you walk into a room and not everybody there is on the same page politically speaking. So my answer is, then why would you want to be with an association who is politically charged in one direction or another? Why would you not just want to be with an association that's going to protect you, and they don't care how you believe politically? They don't care if you want to give your money to this organization or that. Whereas when you're with the union, you have no control over where your money goes. And let's just face it, as an educator, you're not just knocking it out of the park in the bank account area. Okay. So you want to be very decisive and know that your money's going where you believe it should go. And finally, again, price. I will say this, legally, we cannot take any member's money and endorse a political candidate or a pact. It's completely against, legally, we can't do it. We are a 501c6 true trade association. We are not a labor union. So that's another differentiator between us and the teachers union. And just on a side note, because I worked in California for a while, and as y'all can tell with the accent, I never got the correct order at Del Taco. They were like, what is she saying? So, but it was a great experience for me. I actually worked for a student travel association, but what I had found, and y'all are going to probably understand this as well, is like true Californians, they were all about it. They were like, okay, yes, thank you. And so anytime you're sharing this with colleagues, they want you to speak the truth, speak from your heart, speak personally why you joined and why you stay a member. And so that's really, in a nutshell, what I wanted to say. This is kind of inspiring to me because I love to hear when people get very passionate about it, as I have. I will end by saying both of my parents were educators. My dad coached and taught for 40 years, my mom 35 years, and they were members of the union. And now that I have worked for AAE and ASTA for 10 years, they're both are saying what Athena is basically saying, which is, where did my money go? And I'm like, exactly. So if you can enlighten people now before they are 40 years in, 35 years in, and say, hey, and it's never too late. 2 years ago, my fourth grade teacher was in her 34th year of teaching, and I got her to switch. So never too late. Ariel, you might want to add to my little spiel there.
Hey everybody, I'm Ariel. I'm in Colorado, chapter here in Colorado. Just to, piggyback with a lot of what Shanna is saying, when my background's insurance, so when we talk about insurance, the policy's unmatched. When you talk about the $2 million of coverage, that's where that peace of mind comes in, because not our educators don't have that $30,000 and $40,000 sitting around to protect themselves when a legal situation comes about and they're about to be sued. So when that 1650 comes in and you don't have to share that policy, that's not an aggregate policy. That's not a policy that you have to sit up and say, well, can I use it or can I not? It comes in the mail, just like your auto policy. You get your declaration page, you get everything that it covers. And then if something, which we hope it doesn't, but if something does arise, like, you get our entire support team walking you through the process. So that in itself is like service and support that's unmatched. So you don't get that in many associations. My background is also other associations, but it's in insurance. So you see that with our association, all of our team nationwide just takes a personal approach with any of our members. So when our members are going through something, we're going through something. So when COVID happened, it happened to all of us personally too. And so, we just wanted to be there. And then those discounts, Athena, you said you're a bargain shopper. I don't know if you've been in the discounts yet, but it's like Groupon on steroids.
Oh, I haven't. I'm so new. I'm going to check that out for sure.
And then our scholarships and grants are amazing. Most of our states nationwide, we offer at least 12 a year, and that's up to $500. Classroom grant or a professional development scholarship. So that's money waiting for you. Just our grants, our submission process is very easy. So again, for $16.50 a month, just with those three benefits, it almost pays for itself. That's not even talking about our publications that are written by your colleagues everywhere. We take submissions from our members. So if you have like a hot topic or you're a leader in your area with something that you need to share with other colleagues everywhere, like, we take those submissions, we share those submissions, and our team is amazing, and they really do a good job, and we care about all of our members. So we want to keep caring about more people, one person at a time. So share as much as you can.
I'm looking at the chat, and I think we can get Lynn's question answered by teacher number 2, because teacher number 2 just opted out of DSUSD this year. She says in the chat, and that is the same district that Lynn is dealing with. Do you feel comfortable, teacher number 2, just sharing what steps you took?
Yeah, it seems odd to me that this is such a secretive, it's everyone's right to not, to not be in a union. It's everybody's right. And I've been with my district for 24 years. I served on executive board. I was a union rep for a really long time. I have loved my union for a long time. And I've just gotten to a point right now, like it's not a fit for me right now. I don't know, like I'm not into, it's just for me, it's not a fit. I used to work with Trina, like I have a good working relationship with Trina. There were a lot of roadblocks. I contacted CTA in Burlingame on how to opt out in July. I got the form letter, plug in your name, and I got no response. I sent it to Burlingame, I sent it to the Palm Desert office, I sent it to our district office, and it was like crickets. I didn't hear anything. So it took a while, and I ended up having to contact personnel and say, okay, it's October still, and I can't get anybody to call me back. I can't get anybody to stop taking money out of my check. And then I got a whole new form, which I have, which is apparently what our district union people need to unenroll you. It's one paper, you like initial, you sign it, and you turn it in. And then it should be done.
So did you have to go through payroll to get that paper, and then you just filled it out yourself?
I believe I did not, payroll did not send it to me. It was sent to me by the union president. But yeah, I think, I have it, so I can pass it along. It's just
do you by any chance have it that you could put it in the chat right now, or could you email maybe myself or Celeste so that we could get it to the right people? Because your union in particular is the one where we're having a lot of people who are afraid of the leadership and who want to leave. So it'd be a lot easier if we could put that paper in their hands.
Okay. Yeah, it really shouldn't, I mean, probably everybody here knows it shouldn't be like that. I have to get it off of my phone, but yes, I can put it in the chat.
And then we'll make sure too that everybody gets, or the right people get that form.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry it took you so long. I was saying before you got here that I'm over at Palm Springs Unified School District, and my president's awesome. I called her up. I said I want to leave. She tried to talk me into the CTA Republican caucus. I didn't know that one existed. I did call them up and found out some interesting information, but they're not doing enough. So I decided that opting out would be my best way to send my message.
Well, and when I spoke with, I'd have to look at my contact person who I talked to in Palm Desert, like they asked, can I ask why you're leaving? And I didn't really give a reason, because a reason is it's just grounds to have a rebuttal, and I'm really just doing it because it's my right to not be in a union. So, and it's everyone's right, according to this. I mean, it's always been our right to not be in a union, but recently it's become our right to keep the money that we used to have to still give up. So.
Okay, Jackson just left, but we've got his email in the chat if we need it at Cal Policy Center. What I'm really appreciative of is that we're recording this for all the teachers who couldn't be here. And I think that we've covered a lot of topics that are, from personal experiences to professional resources to the actual way to get out. Basically you're supposed to just send the letter to your union president, to the CTA at Burlingame. Is that correct? That address.
Yes.
And the Palm Desert address as well, because that's our local chapter. I did all three.
Well, see, and that's what I was told by Burlingame, was that you needed to send, and then what I was told from my leadership at DSTA was, no, this is what we need, which is what I'm trying to put in the chat right now. and you just need to send it to me. And that's it.
Out of curiosity, everybody who's a teacher, when did it like come to you, I guess is the good word, or did you just say, wait a minute? I know for Michael, he saw it in his paperwork, was like, I don't know, what am I signing here? But for me, I taught for 10 years. I never even really thought about it. I really didn't. I never joined, but I think it was because I just didn't know what I was joining. But that's interesting for me just to know with you guys when you said, wait a minute, was it financial? Was it, I'm tired of y'all telling me how to vote. Okay. It's getting on my nerves. Or just what was it that was like your moment where you said, okay, I'm kind of done.
Okay. So, I mean, for me personally, when I first started teaching 20 years ago, in LAUSD, I wanted to, put my money to charity because you couldn't do Janus at the time, instead of like contribute my dues to political causes. Cause I mean, and I was only 21 years old, like at the time, so, but I didn't. I just filled out the paperwork and then went along with it for all those years. And then just recently, I truly believe that we need to get back to working in the classroom, and that's something I support. And then I got all these text messages from CTA and emails saying to fight the new legislation that's trying to bring kids back to the classroom. And I just think it's really unhealthy and it's not good for children and students. It's so like morally like I'm paying money for things that I'm like morally opposed to. So I'm out there protesting with my signs, and then I'm giving my money, my $1,200 to fight myself, to fight my own beliefs. And so like, again, when I stop giving them money, it just feels better. I'm not supporting things that I think are really bad for kids.
I'll comment, even though I've always been out. One thing that let's just say took me from being passively out to now aggressively educating other teachers is the misinformation and the intentional darkness of facts and mischaracterization of what it means to be out of the union by union leadership. And that's not in all districts, I understand that, but it's certainly at the state CTA and NEA level nationally. And so what I'm extremely passionate about, if in a democratic country, equal access to information and facts is a right for everybody. And if we embrace or allow or just passively stand by while our colleagues are ignorant to the facts, regardless of what the decision they make, I would be so disappointed, even if a colleague disagreed with me, if they kept me in the dark for 20 years and they had access to information that I didn't know. And so for me, that's changed. And then the positive conversations I have had with my colleagues, most of whom agree, or at least aren't, very few hostile, difficult conversations. Most of them really respect that I'm taking the time just to educate them and be fair and honest in the conversation, like a human being should, really. So just the corruption of a monopoly union that has grown and evolved and sort of morphed into just whatever we're experiencing now in 2020 is just an awful version of whatever unions were supposed to be many, many, many decades ago when they first launched.
Yeah. Does anyone have any more questions or anything that they want to share or discuss?
I do have a question that's a little bit different. It goes into asking about how to market and communicate with other teachers and what we're allowed to do. So I don't know if now's the time to do that, or you guys want to take that offline or something.
So like maybe I should stop recording, because I really want this to be about, like, for a person like me who's been thinking about it, to get a hold of this video with these answers that I was looking for. I mean, I had to call 4 or 5 different people to actually get it all done. And so I'm hoping that this video like has all that for someone, right? So do we want to leave it as just this and then talk about that other step? Because that's maybe a little bit different, like how we can spread the good news.
Yeah, that's absolutely. That's what I do want to talk about. So if you guys want to focus on the first part and just opting out individually, we can keep going there and hold off on my stuff.
Okay, I'm gonna stop the recording. Is that okay with you, Celeste?
She's muted.
Let me know. Was
There we
that
go.
is that okay with you?
Yeah, that's okay with me. And